I hate where we are in politics, and I hate where we are in camera reviews, because it's completely divided.
Folks, welcome to This Photo Life. I'm your host, Andy McSweeney, and thank you for dropping by. On today's show is the second part of my conversation with Mr. Scott Kelby, the renowned photography instructor, educator, head of Kelby One, the photography education network, and of course, a proper and awesome photographer in his own right. Scott was kind enough to drop by last week's show, and well, it just kept going, so I was very, very lucky to get a two-parter out of this. Thank you again for that, Scott. I know I've done it a couple times in mail, but I've just got to throw it out one more time on the air. And, well, in today's second part with Scott, gang, we still end up talking a lot about Scott as a person, because as we all know, he's been asked plenty of questions there on the photography front. So Andy wanted to dig into him as a person, and that continues a little more into this episode. But as promised, I also talked to him as a photographer and about photography. So while we don't go too nuts about settings, dials, apertures, and all that good stuff that we like to get nerdy about, myself included, we do hit the photo talk a little harder as far as what Scott thinks about mirrorless cameras in 2019, how Scott feels about some of the photography communities, and how we all get a little bit nutty around our gear sometimes in one way or another, whether it's a brand or a sensor size. And yeah, we just ramble in the photo way, all the way down the tunnel to the very end, where I asked Scott flat out, just like one of my guests over on my daily photo tours, how he feels about his photography. And spoiler gang, you're going to want to hear it in his own words, but Scott's not always crazy about his photography. So not only is he mortal, my friends, but he's just like you and me, where he's sometimes always feeling those steps in the process that are still underway and where the potential could go. I talk about that a little more in the outro, because part of the process of making this podcast a little better is sometimes I end up doing the outros first. So that's discussed at the other end, but I will say it up front, just loud, clear, and worth repeating in a time-delayed kind of way. The process is part of the fun, friends. So whether you're making the photos you want or not, whether you're as clear as you want to be on your podcast without stuttering and just and having to do it a couple of goes over or not, whether you're living your life, photography or otherwise, enjoy that process, work it, and savor it. It's all good stuff, and in the end you might end up with a show that's going better than you ever thought, with guests like Scott Kelby and so many others who have graced this show, who make it even more of an amazing show than you thought you would have in the end. Oh yeah, I started that out because the emotion got to me. That means that it's time to get to that chat with Scott. Before I do though, gang, I do of course have to remind you flat out that I do a daily walking tour here in Bruges as Photo Tour Bruges. It is open tours, private tours daily. So with 3 to 4 tours to choose from, depending on the option, and built for, well, grandma with the smartphone or you with your 10 grand of gear and the knowledge to back that up. It really is a tour for all photographers. All budgets, all skills, all experiences, all senses of humor. They're all welcome at Photo Tour Bruges, and I welcome you as Photo Tour Bruges. So if you're passing by the beautiful city of Bruges, Belgium, and you find time between a beer, a bit of chocolate or whatnot, drop by. Feel free, and if you look in the description, you'll see the website, www.phototourbruges.com. And next to that link that is the website, well, you'll see a 15% discount code on the open tours, private tours. All right, that means my self-sponsoring plug is out of the way, and we can get to the chat with Scott Kelby. If I have any other names to drop before we transition over to that time with Scott is for the music that transitions over to Scott Kelby, because of course it is provided by DJ Biaz. He's our in-house music man on the production and the sound. He gives us some nice music in the interlude as we wind down from my voice and into some more interesting and experienced voices like Scott's. So, DJ Biaz, if you wouldn't mind, sir, after I remind people how they can check out your tunes at soundcloud.com/Biaz, B-I-A-Z. Well, Mr. B-I-A-Z, would you be so kind to drop a tune, make it work, and give it some groove? Hope you enjoy part 2 with Scott. Boom.
I can't believe how deep we're going in this interview today, right? We're going in all kinds of wild places that I don't normally get to talk about.
You were crazy enough to say yes. I hope we're doing okay here. If I'm freaking you out, hang up the phone.
I'm really enjoying it. I don't know how your listeners are probably like, get to some camera settings, but F11, just use F11.
Yeah. F8, no, F8, F5.6 or die. We're going to do that. Yeah.
All right.
Well, man, it connects exactly to just what you said, why I ask you these questions about you, and get into this before we get into the photos. The show is called This Photo Life, and I wanted to make sure that's the balance of everything in photography was shown up. Ibarionex talked about when he started The Candid Frame, and there were no other podcast shows that were talking to the photographers about them. It was all about the gear and everything else. And I think in life, if you get lost in your photography, I mean, my last podcast episode was I barely mentioned cameras because it was all about relaxing. January, February is my dead time of year, so I basically go into a coma for a little while. And I recharge my batteries. I don't take the photo, but I'm standing right there like I could. And I think that stuff's critical, I mean, if you wear yourself down and just take it to the bone, you're going to be shot for like focusing on a frame, much less anything else in life.
Yeah, I think that we tend to really charge hard. We don't. I live in Florida. We don't have a downtime. It's always go, 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 go. Mm-hmm. And I'm in search of downtime.
Yeah. You must be doing 60, 80 hour weeks, man, on average. Just give me a little snapshot of like a typical day or a typical week in what Scott Kelby gets up to.
All right, it's not as bad as you think, and I don't work as many hours as you would think.
Uh-huh. So you're lazy. Awesome. Thanks for that. Exclusive. Gotcha.
No, not lazy, but I don't work as hard as I used to. I will tell you that. So I get up in the morning. My wife and I will often drive our daughter to school together. Uh-huh. Some morning herself, and I drive my daughter myself, depending on what our schedule. Like tomorrow is my day, and I'm taking her. But it's a nice ride in the morning. It's very nice. It's a nice way to start the day. We get on the phone, and on the speakerphone in the car, we call her mom and talk to her mom every morning. Her mom is a sweetheart, a wonderful person, and just a doll. Mm. And so we talk to her, and then we go to Dunkin' Donuts every single morning.
Because you don't have Tim Hortons.
We don't have Tim Hortons, but the next best thing is Dunkin' Donuts, and America runs on Dunkin'. Mm-hmm. And so we get our second cup of coffee in the morning because we already had that first one, and we come home and then a lot of times I will stay home in the morning like today, and do writing, because I do have to write books, but I also have to write 2 blogs, and I have to write articles for Photoshop User Magazine and Lightroom Magazine, and I'm always working on a book. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I will spend the morning home, and then I go in at lunchtime. Like I'll go to lunch. I do like to have lunch out. I'll go and have lunch, and sometimes I'll have lunch with my wife. Sometimes I'll have lunch with a coworker, and we catch up on work stuff. And then I'm in the afternoon in the office for the rest of the day. I usually kick out of there, and I come home, and then I hang out with the dogs and the kiddos, and we watch our shows. And then at night, I either catch up on any work that I missed, or I go into my studio and record music. Right. So, I the only time that I do work a little extra, sometimes on the weekend. I have blogs due on Monday, so I'll write 2 blogs. But, I'm not working crazy hours, You're
keeping the balance.
Yeah, I think I spend a lot of time with the kids and the family. I'm not working crazy hours. I used to work crazy hours for many years, but even then I did a lot of work at home. And, a few years ago I won an award. It was the award was nice. My wife bought the award. It was a guitar with a plaque on it, and it was for, I think, my 6th year of being the world's #1 best-selling photography book author. And they had a big party for me. And my son got up and gave a speech, which was unexpected. But he's a great public speaker, a natural public speaker. And he got up and he gave this big speech to the whole audience. There was hundreds of people there, and he told the story like, that the whole time that he was growing up, I was really busy, but I was always there for him. And that I was at every basketball game. I was at every rowing competition. I was at every parent-teacher conference at his school. And it is part of it is the blessing of owning your own business, that I was able to leave and I would be able to go to every one. And he gave this whole story. He said, my dad's worked hard his whole life, but he was always there for me, and he was always there. And he and I are incredibly close. But I think I've been really blessed in that, being able to work at home some and being able to work in the office, and and anytime I needed to get away for anything that he ever needed, I was able to do it. Same thing with my daughter. If my daughter has a parent-teacher conference or whatever, I can just go, and unless I happen to be out of town that day, but my wife's really great about making sure that I can be there, and scheduling things with school and stuff. So I think I got about a perfect job. I don't work too much anymore. I really enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work even when I'm working, except for blogging. Blogging sometimes really feels like work. If I don't have a topic, it drives me crazy. If I have a topic, it comes flying out of me. But when you're sitting there and it's Sunday night and you have a blog due on Monday and you have no idea what to write about, that is when I feel like I'm at work.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I'm like, I have no idea what to write about tomorrow, and I do not want to do another 7 favorite Photoshop keyboard shortcuts. What I want to do something meaningful. And that's the other thing. If you really care about your blog and you care about your readers like you care about your listeners, you don't want to just throw something out there. You want to give something of value. You want to give people a reason to come back, and so it's tough when you really care about the content and you want to do something helpful. That's when it's a frustrating time for me. But I think I got a pretty awesome job, and I don't think I work too much, and I take lots of vacation, and I have no complaints. I'm the happiest guy in the world. So.
Well, it sounds you have good reason, man. And that's awesome to hear, one of the things, not to poke into social politics too deep or anything, but one of the reasons I've lived in Europe for 25 years now is I like the quality of living here. I have no problem with doing hard days' work, but I also want to make sure that there's balance to things. And I worry sometimes North America, Canada included, has lost that perspective of balance. I mean, to the point that the coffee is all drip because we have to have our coffee on the go. So Timmy's does great out of it, but you got to have that balance.
Yeah. I think that the grass is always greener. It's like, we have an immigration issue here in the United States, right? It's because everybody wants to come here because it's awesome. There are great things about the United States. There's great things about Canada. There's great things about every country.
Yes.
If I was going to live someplace else, I don't want to. I love it here. But if I was going to live someplace else, it would be Italy. I love Italy. I love Italian food. I love Italian people. I love the Italian language. I love just Italy. Yeah, I think there's a lot of a lot of really great things about America, and I think like everywhere else, if you go to Rome, they're complaining about their garbage problem. They have huge pothole and garbage problems in Rome. They're rioting in the streets, and I think, well, we don't have that. It's like there's, but overall, I think I think we have it pretty good here. So it's not perfect, but I don't think any place is. But
that's also what I was going to say. Everything has good and bad. Some people look at me like I'm an alien for leaving Canada because let's not lie, beautiful country.
Yeah, but you're
there's
in
a bunch of good,
beautiful country where you're at as well.
Well, I got Belgium as a decent consolation
prize.
Yeah,
Belgium's awesome. I've been there many times. Started going there when I was in my 20s, and it's an awesome country with delicious food.
Yeah, the food is very much the religion here. We don't have the British humor to keep up with the rain.
I'm afraid if I lived there, I'd be in a circus sideshow because there's just so much great food in Belgium. Belgian chocolate, oh my gosh.
Tip of the iceberg, my friend.
I know. I've been there many times. Yeah, I've been to I've been all over. I've been to Antwerp. I've been to Brussels. I've been to Bruges.
Hey.
Yeah, I love Belgium. It's an awesome country.
It's a good little place. They're really grounded, nice people by and large, and just by the nature of how the country exists, they're kind of meet in the middle and do your own thing sort of mindset is the overall goal.
Yeah,
that's the base move.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else. I don't know anything about Belgian politics, but I know that politics in general suck. I do know that. I know it's like one of the worst things, it's like
they suck everywhere. It's okay.
It's the least happy thing about America is right now, just, the divisions and stuff. But, we'll get past this.
I think you guys will. Hey, I mean, everybody goes through bumps and changes, whether you agree with them or not. And I think it's just part of that cycle. And frankly, politics in the modern way, maybe we could just use a little bit of change and fresh perspective. Maybe it wouldn't lead to situations that might look a little abstract. I mean, over here we got Brexit coming up, so...
Yeah, that's going to be wild, yeah.
Yeah, well, the British and their humor, they have to take it all the way into politics.
Yeah. But this is the history of the world. There's all kinds of changes and things, and let's just hope some of them for the better. Sometimes we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but I think that we're due for a uptick. So, we'll see where we go.
Well, we see where we land, and we all do our part. Hey, man, speaking of change and, all these cycles and ebbs and flows, why don't we move a little more into the work side of things? My viewers will kill me if I don't drill you on a few camera questions, so we're going to get there real soon. But I guess, just in where you are and what you're up to and everything with Kelby One, I just have to ask, how do you feel about the whole change of the internet over the last few years with like YouTube and photo educators and these Canadian refugees starting photo tours here, there, everywhere? Do you want to chat about that?
Well, yeah. I love YouTube. We have a YouTube channel and hundreds of thousands of subscribers and all that. So YouTube is awesome. But I think, I can tell you. So I mentioned to you off the air that I built a home recording studio about a year ago.
Yeah.
About a year and 3 months ago. Okay, so because I got my first software, which I use Logic Pro X, which is from Apple, and it is awesome recording studio software, really, really like professional level stuff, and it's used by, there's only 2 or 3 programs everybody uses, and Logic Pro is one of the top ones.
Okay, so industry standard.
Yeah, it's a biggie. It's a biggie. It's like, it's like Photoshop and Lightroom and, that kind of stuff. It's a biggie. So it's also has the depth of Photoshop. I can't believe the stuff that Logic Pro will do. Now, it's a very mature product, and it's been around a long time. But my gosh, it has so many layers. I'm constantly uncovering new things that it can do. I mean, literally every week. But I've tried to learn it via YouTube, and it is... I understand why people like Kelby One. YouTube is awesome if you need to learn a particular thing.
Yeah.
Like, I need to learn how to fade out a song at the end of the song. But what I found is I have to watch a whole lot of videos for a long period of time to get to that one little nugget I need. In fact, it's so much so that I'm going to create my own Logic Pro YouTube channel to get to the point, because there's so many things that took me so that it was brutal. And by the way, when you find a really good YouTube video on Logic Pro, you know what they say at the end of it? If you want my really good stuff, come and join my subscription at blah, blah, blah.
For a Patreon or so.
Yeah. People that are putting really good content on YouTube aren't doing it for free for long. If they get popular, the next thing they want to do is start charging. And it's natural. I don't hold that against anybody. But the really good content is still for pay.
There's going to be a wall at some point.
They'll give you a teaser and they'll let you learn a little thing, but you realize, and I've had to do that. I can go get free Logic Pro videos all day long, but I have a limited amount of time I can spend learning. And I spend more time on YouTube searching than I do learning.
Yeah.
But I joined this Musician on a Mission thing. It's a subscription plan. And this guy's stuff is awesome. He gives away really good free stuff, but his best stuff you pay for. You pay a monthly subscription.
Huh.
Yeah, and and I think that people are using YouTube to get you to give them money. Like, they're like, hey, look, here's a really great Photoshop tip. You want to learn my really good stuff? Go to my website and subscribe to my plan. That's just, or go buy my DVD, or my digital download, whatever it is. YouTube is great for kids that have a lot of time. If you've got you got time all day long to just search for stuff. I don't. I don't want to spend 45 minutes trying to figure out how to fade out the end of a song.
Yeah.
I want to go someplace and see the words, fade out the end of a song. I click it, and in 60 seconds, somebody goes, you go up to the mix menu, go to the very bottom under automations, and choose fade out song. Oh, that's what I wanted. That's all I wanted right there. And I think that I had to watch a 14-minute video, and buried in there was, in between all the ads to join somebody's subscription thing, was that information. So while there is a lot of good information on YouTube, it is buried and surrounded by a ton of crap, by a ton of really bad stuff. And I understand it. I understand. People tell us this. We read it all the time, where they outgrew YouTube. Like, they just got to a point where, like, there's got to be a better way than this. Yeah, the information's here, but it's a needle in a haystack. How do I get right to what I really want? And also, the other thing about YouTube, I'll watch a video on Logic where a guy will go, you should always do this. And the next video you watch is never, ever do that. Yeah. And the next one is like, well, you can do either one of those, but you're crazy if you do. And there's so much contradictory information. And some stuff's just plain wrong. Yeah. That it's just, I understand why I and other people like my son. Do you know how many guitar tutorial videos there are? Now, if you want to learn a song, every song you want to learn is on there. But if you want to learn how to play guitar, you're gonna have to go and subscribe to somebody's thing, because you'll get a little bit of one thing from one person. The next person will tell you to do it different. You got to find somebody you trust and go, okay, I'm going to go with this plan. So while YouTube is great, like if I have to change the battery for my car keys, like my car keys use a very funky battery. I can never figure out how to get in the case. I go to YouTube, I type in my car and my keychain, and I can get in, and boom, it's done. Yep. I love YouTube for that. But for learning how to do car maintenance, I use YouTube to find the person I'm going to pay to learn from. Yeah,
I can see that. So you don't. So you feel that you're still on stable ground. Everything's with Kelby One, just to sort of nudge it that way. If I may, sell me. Where does Kelby One, when I say, okay, well, I'm tired of digging around YouTube, I hear about Kelby One and I end up on your door? What's going to knock me over?
Well, I will say this. We've had, I think in the last year, we've been steadily growing and growing and growing. It's been a great year this last year. So business is great. It is really, really done well. And I think one of the reasons, I think there are people that are reaching that point where they're like, you know what? I feel like I'm just all over the place. I don't really have a plan. And I think that's one of the things that we offer. And I'll just give you an example. There's 3 things that are our thing. Mm-hmm. Number one is the way we teach you is the way we would want to learn. So, for example, if you want to learn how to shoot on safari, we fly a camera crew to Africa, and we have a camera crew on the ground with the instructor, and you're actually driving around in the Jeeps, getting the tips directly from the instructor like you're standing right beside them in Africa. Yeah. If we want to teach you how to do dance photography, we're in New York City with a prima ballerina from the New York City Ballet, and you're learning how to light and shoot with on location in New York. If we're teaching you how to do aviation photography, we're flying off the coast with a squadron of World War II warbirds flying in formation with our camera crew in a chase plane, recording and photographing the photographer as he teaches you how to do it. Yeah. You're not seeing that stuff on YouTube.
I was going to say Logan Paul isn't getting there. Yeah.
I mean, we just had a camera crew in Canada doing a landscape workshop, not while I was there, but a camera crew that we just came back from Amsterdam, where we're filming on location in Amsterdam, shooting fashion. We're out in Yosemite. We're wherever we have to go in the world. When we do a travel photography, we're on the streets of Paris, teaching you in Paris, in context, like you're standing right there beside the photographer. It's cinematic quality, HD, like how it looks matters. And so that's one of the things that I think really separates us, not just from YouTube, but from everybody, is that when you take one of our classes, whether you're in a photography studio in New York City or you're a studio here in Florida or wherever, you're learning in context. It's not a bunch of people standing there with a slideshow. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is everybody's on YouTube. Kids, good people, bad people, good instructors, bad instructors, whoever. We have over 100 instructors, and they're curated. They're the best of the best. If you want to learn flash photography, you're going to learn it from Joe McNally. Joe's got 14 classes on Kelby One. You know, if you're going to learn fashion photography, we've got Lindsay Adler, who's, one of the hottest fashion photography instructors in the world today. It's like whatever the genre is, we've got the very, very best. So you don't have to go, is this guy any good? Is she any good at family photography? Like we've just got the best of the best. And we realized early on that we were going to have to do some things to separate ourselves from the competition. One was, we're just only going to use kick butt instructors. Yeah. And our instructors are a who's who. If you want to learn headshot photography, we've got tons of classes with Peter Hurley, the master of the headshot, the guy that wrote the book, Mastering the Headshot.
That guy's awesome, yeah. Please.
Which, by the way, we produced Peter's book. We actually did produce his book. But, you're learning from the very best in the world. So I think that is huge. And the third thing is that we have like 800 classes, full-length classes, but every one of those is broken down into little 3, 4, and 5 minute segments. So when you go to a class, if you're like, I want to know how he does the lighting for headshots, you would go to the thing called Mastering the Headshot, and you go right to the lesson called Setting Up the Lighting. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's not a bunch of tutorials, it's an education. We have learning tracks where you can start, and we go start here, then take this class, then take this class. We track your progress. Yep. You know where you are in the process. We look at ourselves as an educational resource, not a bunch of tutorials. And so there's also the other leg of this is that we have a worldwide community. Like we have a community where if you've got a question, and this community, by the way, is not like any other photography community online in the world, because I always say, photography forums are where people go to pick on people that are weaker. If you go to a photography forum, it can be one of the meanest, harshest, nastiest places for someone who's not a pro.
It does get brutal, yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. You ask a legitimate question that's a beginner question, and people come in, the whole rest of the forum is making fun of you for asking it.
Yeah.
It is not that way at Kelby One. We don't tolerate that at all. It is a wonderful community. If you get on there and you ask the dumbest question in the world, you'll have an answer, a gracious answer back in a minute. There are Kelby One members literally all over the world that monitor those forums 24 hours a day. And if you have a question or you need an opinion or you're stuck or whatever, they're right on it, and they are so gracious and so kind. It is the most, I hate to use the word, loving place for photographers on the planet. It is a wonderful community, and everyone that's new is welcomed with open arms, and there is no question that's dumb. Everybody just helps everybody, and it is awesome. And every time a class comes out, we start a discussion for that class. So you're talking directly with the instructor. We release a new class every week, by the way. Every Thursday, we release a brand new class all year long. We actually release more than one class per week. We actually have some bonus classes that we release during the year as well. But we do at least 52 minimum, but we always do more. But yeah, the instructors are there. You can interact directly with them, and the community will help answer your question usually before the instructor can even get there. So that's what is awesome about it. I think that
it's a real asset.
Yeah, it's for people when you've got to a point where you're like, I've outgrown YouTube. YouTube's fine, and there's a lot of great stuff on there, but I need something more structured, and I need something that is, a higher quality and consistent. And, I want to be a part of something. I don't want to just watch a video. I want to be a part of a community. I want to be a part of something. I want to have access to the magazines, Photoshop User Magazine, Lightroom Magazine. You're kind of part of an association. We have tons of discounts on all kinds of stuff. It really is. It's a membership. We call it a membership because you're not subscribing. You become a part of something. You've got the community and the discounts and the help desks and all the different things. So it's way bigger than just watching tutorials.
Oh, interesting, man. And it's good that you say the membership side of things in the humane way. I never think of my tour guests as clients. They're always guests. I'm hosting you for a couple hours. Come on in. You're part of my community for a couple hours or even beyond. All that stuff is I think, important.
Yeah, and we make friends. We make friends out of all this.
I've put together 3 couples through those photo walks of yours and mine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, people fall in love.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, oh, that's good, man. Well, hey, this is fantastic stuff. How are you feeling on time? Do you want to keep going?
I can go another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, awesome. All right, Scott. Well, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. You've been very, very generous with your time, but I'll be crucified, and the internet will just not rest if I don't ask you at least a few photography questions.
Well, I can talk photography all day, no problem.
Yeah. And I hope you plug after we run through a couple questions. You do this regularly, of course, at Kelby One, but also on The Grid, your weekly video podcast, don't you? Yeah, good. Just wanted to get that in. So
thank you.
No, please, so people know that there's more beyond just what I'm going to throw at you.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, when I look at these questions, man, I mean, we can get into the gear till the cows come home, or even just for the next 10 minutes. I want to ask you a little bit about your photography as a photographer. I know, of course, you're an educator primarily, and of course, Kelby One is going to keep you busy on the business side. I'm going to ask you one gear question, then just a couple things about you behind the camera, if it's okay. And for that gear question, I mean, it's the hot topic of 29, if you will, even the last few years. What do you think of mirrorless in 2019? You're over on Canon, and they've gone full frame. Yeah. So's Nikon, and pretty much everyone's there. How you feeling about it?
I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. My only experience with mirrorless had been with a Sony mirrorless. And while I love the Sony sensor, oh my gosh, the sensor and the Sony A7Rs, I mean, they're really, really good. Amazing sensors. But I didn't like the actual camera. I hated the ergonomics. I didn't like how it felt in my hands. I hate their menu system. Oh my gosh, their menu system is just awful. Yeah. There were a lot of things I just didn't like about the camera and features that seemed like they should be there that weren't. But the sensor, oh my gosh, the Sony sensor was crazy. So when Canon introduced earlier, at the end of last year, they introduced that their EOS R.
Yes.
So to me, I have been shooting a Canon 5D Mark IV as my main camera. And to me, it was the 5D Mark IV, pretty much the same sensor, by the way. So it was pretty much a 5D Mark IV, but with some of the things that were missing from the 5D Mark IV, like a full articulating screen, a touch screen that, flips out. And you can rotate it all over the place.
Yep.
I flip and love that. I'm crazy about that. I did like some of the mirrorless things. Some of them still take a little bit of getting used to, like the electronic viewfinder. I still feel like I'm watching a movie of a photo shoot instead of doing a photo shoot. But the more I used it, the more I got comfortable with it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm totally cool. Like, it was weird. I called Eric Kuna out. I was out in Las Vegas this last week at the WPPI show, and he was complaining about Canon's new entry level. So Canon came out with a new entry level mirrorless. It's $12.99 for a full frame mirrorless, and right now they're giving away a camera adapter so you can use your other lenses, not just mirrorless lenses, but your other lenses, and the adapter works awesome. And like a little body grip to give a little more heft to it. Yeah. So it feels more like a professional level camera for $12.99. Like, it's the cheapest full frame mirrorless out there, period, and all this. And he was complaining about the video in it. And I'm like, dude, you would never buy this camera for video. Never, ever. But here you are complaining about it. Yeah. What is wrong with this industry? You're complaining about a camera you will never own and complaining about a feature you will never use.
Yeah.
Just to complain. It's just like, and he's my buddy. He's like one of my best friends. But I called him out right there live on the air. I'm going, here you're going, yeah, they should have put this video in or that video in. It's $12.99. It's a full frame mirrorless, for goodness sake. That's it. You're letting people those people aren't going to be making corporate videos.
Yeah.
If you're going to make corporate videos, that's not the camera you would buy, So I think that I hate where we are in politics, and I hate where we are in camera reviews, because it's completely divided. And here's where I tell you I think is wrong with camera reviews.
Yeah.
Number one, a Nikon person or a Sony person should not be reviewing a Canon camera. A Canon user should not be doing a Sony review. If you want to find out really what a good Sony is, a Sony person, a Sony shooter needs to review it.
I see where you're coming from.
Because you're bringing all kinds, like, in other words, I'll read some Sony guy review the Nikon Z6 or Z7.
Yeah.
And all they do is say, well, it's at the end of it, it's not as good as my Sony. Well, what kind of useless crap is that? I want a Nikon guy to say, hey, here's what I like about this Nikon. I want to hear it from a person that isn't predisposed to like a different camera system.
Yep. I totally do.
And getting a camera review from a Fuji user on the new Sony, it's just a waste of time. And I really think that we all need to stop attacking cameras before, like, a camera comes out, no one's held it, no one's touched it, no one shot it, and they've already pronounced it dead.
Through 1,000 YouTube videos too, with the modern way. Yeah.
It's like, you know what? You might actually want to hold the product and take one stinking shot before you pronounce it dead. Yeah. And all we do is complain. I mean, it's like, I look at the Canon mirrorless and I think, what does this camera have that my 5D Mark IV is missing? Really nothing. It has all of the things I need and more. And I'm like, I was so thrilled with it because this has all the things I'm missing. And I'm reading all these reports. Oh, it doesn't have 2 card slots. Oh, boo-hoo. So it doesn't have 2 card slots. What did you do before cameras had 2 card slots? By the way, all these people that love their Sonys, oh, Sony, they didn't have 2 card slots until just recently.
Yeah.
They weren't like, this thing's crap, it only has 1 card slot.
Yeah. And, us gray-haired people can remind you that you could only load 1 roll of film at a time in most cases.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, it's a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. I'm like, oh, shut up. There's just so much. there's just so much hate out there in the photography community when it comes to gear. Yeah. It's like, you know what? And it's not that way in music. If I meet a guitar player, and I'm a Strat guy, I like Fender Stratocasters. That's like my favorite guitar. Yeah. All right. And I like also Paul Reed Smith guitars. If I run into a guy who plays nothing but Gibson Les Pauls, I go, what kind of guitar you have? Oh, Gibson Les Pauls. I'm like, dude, cool. Like, guitar players love all guitars. They're all different. They have different ergonomics. They play different. They sound different. They have different pickups. They feel different on the neck. Ibanez feel different than, Fender and Gibson. And they all feel different. They're all different. But guitar players love guitars.
Yeah.
We need to get photographers to stop being so I
don't know.
Yeah, you know what it is? They're so worried. Like right now, all the Sony people are so angry because they pretty much had the mirrorless thing to themselves. And they feel threatened by Canon and Nikon coming into that market. They absolutely do. I talk to them and they're like, they're just like, oh, it's not as good as my Sony. It's not as good as my Sony. Hey, what if it is?
Could that, exist in your world that it's okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Right? And it's like, look, there are things that the Sony, I don't like about the Sony at all. It's like the Sony's not perfect. Yeah. It's just all there was. There wasn't a serious Nikon. There wasn't, but I think Nikon's entry into the mirrorless have been really good. My buddy got one and he is crazy about it. I've used and my buddy Eric, we both used the for 2 months. We had the EOS mirrorless, the EOS R. We loved it.
Yeah,
it was awesome. But I hate where we are in politics, where whatever one side says, the other automatically has to just go boo. I think we're all supposed to work together. Yeah. And I hate where we are in photography, where everybody where my camera's good and your camera's bad.
Yeah.
Because you know what? At the end of the day, this is true. If I take a picture with a Sony and with a Fuji and with a Canon and a Nikon and I make prints and I lay them out on the table, there's no way you're going to walk over and go, that's the Sony, that's the Fuji, that's the Canon, that's the Nikon.
Yeah.
It's going to look like 4 great pictures, and you're not going to be able to tell with any kind of accuracy what was taken with what.
Yeah. And
even though the Sony sensor is probably the best, you're not going to go, oh, that's the Sony. Because you know what? Nikon's got good sensors and Canon has good sensors.
Yeah.
And the pictures, when they lay them on the table, they all pretty much look the same.
That's the thing, eh? People get lost in the gear in this side of things.
Man, they do.
And they forget that it's a balance of the two. The whole medium is your left brain meeting your right brain. So technical and art, or creative, that's the fine line. And if you're leaning that hard into technical that you're flipping out about your gear, something's not right in my math.
Yeah. And you know what? These are just our tools. They're the tools that we chose that are comfortable for us. We chose, like you might buy a Canon because your best friend has Canon and you can swap lenses.
Yeah.
You might buy Canon because a good friend that is really good at Canon and can help you out and answer questions. Yep. You might buy a Nikon because you still have some Nikon lenses from your old film days. There's all kinds of reasons why people choose the camera that they do and the system that they do. We don't have to be threatened by anybody's other system. It doesn't mean that you bought the wrong system. And I know a lot of people left Canon, went to Sony for the mirrorless, and were fooled by thinking that the Sony mirrorless was going to be a lot lighter. As soon as you put a decent lens on it, it's every bit as heavy as a DSLR.
That kept me away. Yeah, I noticed.
And wasn't it Ken Rockwell that weighed a Sony versus a Nikon DSLR?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, Ken Rockwell weighed them side by side, and the Nikon DSLR was 0.3 of a pound or 1/3 of a pound lighter than the Sony. Yeah, and it's like, it's everyone's so defensive. Stop being defensive about it. If someone shows up and they've got a Sony, I don't go, oh, crap, you got a Sony. I'm like, all right, good, you got a Sony. How you like it? Oh, great. It's like people just need to get over it. It's just we're all choosing the tool that we made our choice. We need to stop second guessing our choice.
Yeah.
And if somebody comes out, like right now, Nikon has got a really, really hot camera, the Nikon D850.
Yes, yeah.
Right? I'm a Canon shooter, and I can say it. Man, Nikon's got a really great camera.
Yep.
Should I switch to Nikon? Should I sell? Because right now, Nikon's got a hot camera. Should I sell all my Canon gear?
No.
But then what happens? What if Sony comes out and they have the hot camera then? Do I sell my Nikon gear and switch to Sony? Do we keep chasing all these? No. Pick a tool and worry about your tool.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about everybody else's tools.
Yep, exactly.
Man, that stuff is really, I mean, you want to talk about something that gets me on a soapbox, is why can't we as photographers be like guitar players are about guitars?
Why can't we all just get along, huh?
Yeah, why can't we just like, oh, you got a Sony, you got a Nikon, I got a Canon, great, let's go shoot.
Yeah. Yep.
Not like, oh, you have to keep taking jabs at the Sony or jabs at the Nikon, or you don't have to do that. It's like they're all great cameras. They're all great. The Sony's great. The Nikon's great. The Canon's great. The Fuji's great. They're all great cameras.
Yeah.
Pick the one you like the best.
Yep.
Try them all. I always tell people, put them in your hands. Hold them. Take a couple of shots. And one of them's going to feel like, ooh, I really like the way this one feels. That's the one for you.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I said about Sony, I found their sensor. I mean, I was looking at full frame options. I'm a Nikon shooter traditionally, and it was pick up a Sony or pick up a Nikon as far as right there was. But I picked the Nikon mainly because just it fit better in my hand, and I had a history with it, never mind lenses.
Well, look how assimilated you are out of Europe that you're calling Nikon.
Oh, I know, man. And I refuse
to. That's the real name. That's the real. You're pronouncing it correctly. Only in the United States do we call Nikon.
Oh, I hope they hear that over in Japan. Send me an 850.
It's a U.S. thing. It's totally. And you know why? Because Paul Simon, in one of his songs, said, I got a Nikon camera. I love to take a photograph. And everyone's like, it's Nikon. That's it. Paul Simon said it. It's a hit song. And it's on Kodachrome.
And that's where it goes, huh?
My Kodachrome away. I got a Nikon camera. So that's not my best singing voice there. But anyway, yeah, I would love to see that change about photography. I hate where we are, where every camera is destroyed. If Sony comes out with a camera, you're going to have Fuji, Nikon, and Canon people reviewing it and tell you why it's not any good.
Yeah. That's bad. That's like taking it. Yeah, that's like not opening your eyes to the variety of life and what's out there.
Yeah.
We were talking a little before the air, and I don't think I'm betraying privacy. Your son's picked up French fairly well.
Yeah.
It's going to help his brain expand outwards.
Yeah, you know? It's minor. Yeah.
We could talk gear all day. Gear all day. I'm going to use a few more precious minutes and get away from the gear if it's okay, man.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, I could ask you so many. I'm going to ask you a quick one, just one word answer if you don't mind. If you only had to choose one, what would it be? Landscapes or people?
People?
Why?
I love people. Because I love people. You know, I used to be a really into landscape. It was like my main thing. And my next book is on landscape photography. But and landscape photography it is a wonderful camaraderie when you do it with other people.
Yeah.
I love getting up with a group, 5-6 people. We get out in the morning and we shoot and go have breakfast together. And it's a wonderful experience. It really is a lot of fun. But I just love people. I just love people in general. Except for the French. No, just kidding. No, I love the French. Anyway, but no, I love people. And so one of the things about a landscape is it is awe-inspiring, but it doesn't speak to you. It speaks quietly to your soul, but it doesn't speak to you, and it doesn't make you laugh, and it doesn't tell stories, and you don't. I really enjoy just photographing people. I think people are just so interesting and so different and fascinating and fun. So it's an easy choice for me. As beautiful as landscapes are, and I do love landscapes, and I love. But remember what I said. My favorite experience of shooting landscapes is doing it with people.
Yep. Oh, that's interesting. That's why I picked that particular question, because I've noticed with a lot of my guests, the landscape crowd are actually generally less people-minded They do it for the quiet and the zen, maybe with a few friends, of course, but they tend to enjoy the solitude or just the peaceful side of it. And then the more social side of humanity, they get into the portraits, the street photography, all that. Although I've had a few HR reps and such, people who do people jobs, who don't do any people photography whatsoever because it's their therapy.
Yeah, no, and I totally get the solitude of landscape photography. But when I think of landscapes, like I picture myself shooting a landscape, I never picture myself alone. Yeah. I always picture myself with friends, 1 or 2 friends. And I recently got to go out to Utah, Arizona, that whole area, the Golden Triangle, and shoot in that area. Uh-huh. And I went with a buddy, and we had the greatest time. You know, I don't need a bunch of people, but I need somebody.
Interesting. Well, here, man, let's push forward so you can get back to work on those books. Let me just throw this in. Scott, what's your most embarrassing, and then what's your proudest moment as a photographer, or vice versa? And you can go into education if you want.
Oh my gosh, what's my most embarrassing moment?
Yeah. Can you say it on air?
No, I'm trying to think. I've had so many. I've had so many. I can't pick out one because there literally, sadly, are so many. But I would say normally something that would be embarrassing for me as a photographer, and it has happened to me numerous times, is where I put a photograph up and I missed retouching some detail. Like I missed something or left an extra finger on someone's hand or something like that, you know, like more a post-processing mistake.
Of course.
And then someone points it out in a public forum. That's not awesome.
That hurts.
So I have had that happen. That's embarrassing. And as far as, what was the other question? The first one was the most embarrassing. That one really stuck with me.
That always does, doesn't it? Your proudest moment as a photographer.
I don't know.
Sings to your soul.
Well, I remember I did get an award from the Prince of Dubai at an award ceremony in Dubai for my contributions to education of the education of photography, and that was a very proud moment. It was just the whole experience of going to Dubai. I'd been there before, but to go there as part of this, you know, big competition, and to have been honored for that was very special, and that was something I really enjoyed, and that was kind of a special moment as an educator, to be recognized as an educator. That was very exciting. So I would say that has to rank up there. But the whole experience, because you know I was in Dubai maybe 8 years ago, and I always wanted to go back and see how it had changed and be able to photograph for days before the award ceremony. Was a ton of fun, and I met a lot of great people and made a lot of great friends, and it was just a wonderful experience. So I'm going to go with that as that moment.
That sounds like a worthy moment, man. And you should be proud of your education. You've helped a lot of people. I've talked to them directly, and I've seen the effects out there.
Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Please deserve it.
I love it. I love being able to be an educator. I think it is a blessing, and it being able to, you know, as an educator, when you see someone do well, like when you see one of your students take a lights out shot, it's just so exciting. It's, you know, it's the payoff. It's like if you have that personality where you want to make people happy and you want to see them succeed, to actually see, you know, something that you taught them turned around and used, and they're successful with it and they're happy with it. It's a thrill. It is just a thrill. It reminds you of why you do it in the first place.
Yeah, I find it the greatest part of my job when someone cracks open in any way forward whatsoever. Nothing like it. Awesome, man. Well, here, let me ask you one last question. I'm kind of torn between the two because, of course, it's all very free flow here on this Photo Life.
Yeah, you can ask them both. We just have to answer quicker than I have been.
Okay. Well, Scott Kelby.
No, it's not your. It's on my. I over answer stuff, so you know.
Oh no, it's all good, man. Hey, for a podcast, that's gold. It's all cool. Well, all right then. Let me ask you one more personal thing because I skipped over it, but I'm getting my 5 minutes more, so I'm taking it. let me give you an example before I ask the question. I've had the good pleasure of going to India 4 times. It was always for long stays, so it added up to about a year and a half. The last stay, we didn't do any traveling beyond our local area. We just rented a small little house by the beach, no neighbors, little field, and then you're out swimming, had a scooter. Basically the hippie ideal life for 3 months solid on a good budget. That, man, is my quiet and happy place that I pull into my brain and the memory whenever I need a happy place, just from life, people bitching about cameras, whatnot. What's your happy place, brother?
My happy place is the lobby of the Fairmont Kealani Hotel in Maui, Hawaii.
Okay.
That's very specific, I know, but so they have an open air lobby when you pull up. It's just open all the way from where you drop your car off, through the lobby, through this little mezzanine area where there's a lounge and a restaurant, all the way to the ocean. And it is just one of the most beautiful, peaceful places. And it is my favorite place to write. Like if you said, Scott, you have to write a book, it has to be done in 2 weeks, I'd go, fly me to the Fairmont. It is a special place for my family. We've been going there for, maybe 15, 20 years. And it's just like it's the kids' favorite place. It's my favorite place. And in this little lobby, you have a guy over there playing acoustic guitar. They have high-speed wireless. It's open air and breezy. You're looking out onto this incredible pool area with so lush and gorgeous with all these palm trees down to the beach. And there's an island right off the water, off the coast there that you can see. And it's just so incredibly beautiful. And they bring you little snacks. Diet Coke and some snacks. Little soft drink, a little Wi-Fi, comfortable chairs. It's just the perfect place. Like for a writer, that is my romantic spot to write. And then I'll be sitting there writing, and the kids will come down and they'll hang out with me for a while, and I'll go down to the pool, and you can actually eat in the pool. They have a restaurant where you swim up to the bar and you can order your food and eat there, and we'll go down there and we'll swim out to the restaurant. It is my very, very happy place.
That sounds like a really happy place, man, especially with the family
awesome.
nearby.
Oh, it's awesome, yeah. I've only been there with my family. It wouldn't be the same if it wasn't with my family. It would. I don't want to go there and be by myself. I would have to be with the family and kids. And I got to take my dad there and my brother and different family members. It's been really it's a very special place for our family.
Oh, good. Make sure to pull that up when any stress passes your brain, and it'll pass that much quicker. That was my 2 cents. All right, Scott. Well, one last thing to ask you, and if it's a bit of an abstract one, so if it doesn't work, I'll just edit it out. It's something that I ask all my guests on Photo Tour Bruges at the beginning of the tour, but I thought I might throw it out at the end and make you my guinea pig, if that's okay. So,
sure.
Mr. Scott Kelby, how do you feel about your photography?
I'm miserable with it. Yeah. It's... I know there's better pictures inside of me. Yeah. I know that I can do better than I'm doing. I know that it's just... I'm not quite there where I want to be yet. And I've never been where I want to be. I've never had this day where I go, man, I am loving this, and no matter what kind of accolades I get, like I just got last week, I'll tell you what it was called here. Let me tell you what it was called. Just give me 2 seconds and I will pull it up here on the internet.
Take time.
On the interwebs, and I will be able to tell you what it was. All right, let's see. It was called, I was named as one of the top 50 portfolio websites from the best photographers in the world. So I was thank you, like number 37 or something. Nice. And I was included with names that I have no business being beside. But no matter how many of those things I see, I look at my stuff and I'm just so sick of my own stuff. I've seen it so much. I'm just like, I know I can do, like I look at my stuff and I'm like, I can do so much better than this. And that is both depressing and hopeful at the same time, because it still means to me in my heart that my best photos are yet to come.
Yep.
So that's good because I feel like I'm going to do better. And what I have here is okay. I'm not thrilled with it, but I think that, the more I keep shooting and the more I keep doing, I really consider myself pretty much now a travel photographer. And so, I that's the portfolio I probably work on the most is my travel. But I still shoot people in fashion. I do shoot some sports. Unfortunately, because of my knees, I'm not able to shoot as much sports as I used to. I used to really be into sports, but my knees decided last year that they don't want to do a lot of sports. That's where I'm at. I'm a little bit miserable with my own photography because I know I'm not taking the kind of shots that I'm capable of taking.
Yeah.
So every year I work on trying to get closer to those shots, and like I'm doing a workshop in Paris in June of this year. And I will go in a few days early to scout locations and take all the pictures that I want to take before the students get there. Because once the students are there, I'm in charge of teaching, not in charge of shooting. Mm. So I want to get that out of the way. And I love those experiences. I was able to do that in Rome this year. Last year I did workshops in Rome and Venice, and I was able to go in early and go make photographs. And I'm actually fairly happy with what I did there. And that's rare for me to say I'm fairly happy because that's high praise for my own photography.
You're like me where it's all terrible. You only see the mistakes.
Yeah. So it's tough for me to look at my own work, and everybody looks better than me. But anyway, it does push me forward. It does propel me because I want to get a whole lot better, and I think that really does push me, drive me forward, and that's a good thing. So that's why I say it's hopeful and it's depressing at the same time.
And you express and explain it beautifully, man. And it's all a process. So keep that in mind, you 20 listeners. It's all a process, and even Scott Kelby hates his own work. So come on. All right, Scott. Well, thank you so much for this time. Before I let you go, I want you to mercilessly plug anything you wish to plug. You have so much. Please take the floor and take it as far as you want to go. What you up to? Where can people find you?
Well, sure. I have a couple of spots left in my Paris workshop if you want to go and spend 4 days shooting and learning post-processing and eating incredible French food. Go to scottkelbyworkshops.com. There's only 12 people total on the workshop, so you could be one of them. So that's cool. I am teaching all the time at kelby1.com, and you can go get. Here's what I would tell your listeners: go sign up for the free account. Go to kelby1.com and just sign up for the free account. It's free. It's really free. You don't have to give a credit card or anything. And go watch my class. If you're new to photography, go watch my class I think it's called Beginner's Breakthrough. It's either Beginner's Breakthrough or Beginner's Start Here. I have 2 different classes, but go take that class and then watch Crush the Composition, which is one of my all-time favorite classes. It's been viewed more than 250,000 times. And I think of all the courses I've done, I've gotten more emails and comments and notes about that one course. And you can go watch the whole thing for free. It'll give you a decent taste for what Kelby 1 is about. And of course, the idea is you'll go watch some of these awesome free classes and you'll go, I should join. This is so good. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. Right, so go get that free account. Go watch those couple of classes. I think you'll enjoy them. And that's it. That's it. Kelby1.com. Go take the free account. Yeah, if you want to join, I'm not going to stop you, but certainly start at the free just to get you going.
Excellent. And I'll put a link into the description for those. I assume also you are busy on the Instagram and Facebook on that side of things as Mr. Scott Kelby?
Yeah, Scott Kelby on Instagram, Scott Kelby on Twitter, and S. Kelby on Facebook. It's a long story.
Something a little different?
Well, I have Scott Kelby on Facebook, but it's my personal account. I don't use it. So I have a brand account or a business account, whatever they call it. They change the name all the time. But that's facebook.com/skelby, SKELBY. It looks like Skelby.
Super. I'll link that down in the description too. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
And Scott Kelby, thank you so much for showing up here on This Photo Life. I still can't believe it's happening, man. You are a star for dropping by. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure was mine. I really enjoyed it. This was a wild interview. It was fun. Something I don't get to do very often and cover some of the topics that we did. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about different stuff.
And so there it is, my friends. My chat with Scott Kelby and all its pretty much fullness and richness. He was very generous on the show. He even, as you heard, really let me stretch out the time and get those extra questions in. I hope I did it reasonable justice, and I'm not going to get any hate mail for just asking him what shutter speed to use. Yeah, I think it went really, really well, especially hearing at the end, frankly, that Scott feels that there's work and room to grow around his photography, which is something I think all of us feel, frankly, whether it's our photography or otherwise. And it's really good to hear that somebody who's been doing it so long and is, knocking it out on the photography as well as educating and inspiring so many other photographers, well, that he feels that part of the process is just getting to know that pain and being okay with it and then tackling it as time permits. So good luck, Scott, and good luck, you and me and all of us who are on this magical ride of photography. That's part of why I felt the name This Photo Life was a good one for this podcast, because it is a little bit of life, how things go up and down and left and right, whether it's my cadence, my speed, my steadiness, my stutters. Oh, I'm talking about myself meta in the podcast way again. Excuse me, folks. I swear it'll disappear soon enough. Yeah, that up and downsy side of things is a good old trip, isn't it? And frankly, I love it. I'd rather some of the highs and lows than dealing with a whole bunch of boring in the middle. So whether it's the photography otherwise, hey, hope that helps you on your way. We are all on our trip on this here life, much less the photo side of things. And I guess we're going to keep powering through here on This Photo Life with exploring things. And hey, if you were bold enough to subscribe to the show on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on all the other good places you can find your podcasts that I've hopefully plugged into, well, you'll hear on This Photo Life either past, present, or future. It's all about having a chat about all this craziness, the ups, downs, lefts, rights, the loving, the hating, all that goes on here on This Photo Life and beyond. So that's a little reminder about the show. Please stay tuned beyond Scott Kelby if you just came here for Scott Kelby and are tempted to stick around. I promise we've got our little moments here, and apparently some of you agree, so hey, why not? And with that, folks, why don't I keep it short and sweet? Otherwise, I'll be babbling on too much, and you'll be going, oh, God, I can't believe I even listened this long into an outro after the mighty Scott Kelby. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andy McSweeney of Andy McSweeney Photography and Photo Tour Bruges. You know that's the daily walking tour here in beautiful Bruges, and I've plugged it once, twice, at least 3 times, so that's that on that. And, do make sure to check out Scott's work over on scottkelby.com, kelby1.com, and so many other outlets that I'm going to list down in the description. Truly, truly awesome stuff. Thank you for listening. Thank you again, Scott, as well as all the other guests who have graced this show here on This Photo Life. And, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's that time. Put down the audio. Pick up the camera, get out there, and get shooting. See ya.